Admiral Marcus Thorne's voice cut through the tense silence of the UES Vindication's bridge. The question was coolly posed, yet held an undercurrent of menace. The bridge crew, a hand-picked elite of Earth's finest military personnel, remained eerily silent, their eyes fixed on the massive view screen at the front. The ship's power core hummed softly, a stark contrast to the gravity of the situation unfolding before them. On the screen, an alien ambassador from the Kotar Dominion flickered into view. Tall and imposing, the ambassador's form was clad in sleek, menacing armor, and its numerous eyes blinked in unsettling synchronization. The arrogance of the Kotar Dominion was palpable, a trait of a species unfamiliar with defeat. "We demand your unconditional surrender, human," the ambassador's voice boomed, carrying an air of condescension. "The Kotar Dominion will not tolerate further delays. You have 3 standard cycles to comply, or your world will be annihilated." Thorne leaned back in his command chair, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across his face. His hand moved almost idly to the holographic projector beside him, where a galaxy map spun in 3 dimensions. He zoomed in on a region marked by a sea of red, each marker representing a Kotar warship. The sheer number of capital ships was staggering, a force capable of turning a planet's surface to glass. "Let me get this straight," Thorne began, his voice icy and unyielding. "You think we're going to just roll over and let you take Earth? You believe that your threats will scare us into submission." The Kotar ambassador's response was a hissing sound, intended to convey superiority, but Thorne heard only desperation. "You are outnumbered. Your technology is inferior. Resistance is illogical. You cannot win." Thorne chuckled, a low, menacing sound. Outnumbered but inferior. He stood, crossing his arms as he approached the view screen. "You've been monitoring us for how long? A decade too, and you still don't get it." The silence that followed was thick with tension. The ambassador's many eyes blinked out of sync for the first time, a clear sign of discomfort. Thorne let the silence stretch, knowing it would unsettle the alien more than any words could. Finally, he broke it with a single emphatic word: war. The ambassador shifted, its alien form clearly uncertain. "Explain." Thorne's smile widened, not the smile of a man on the brink of defeat, but of someone who had already won. "You've seen our ships, our weapons, our tactics. You think that's all we've got. But here's the thing about humans: we don't just fight wars, we become war." The ambassador recoiled slightly, sensing the shift in Thorne's tone, but unable to grasp its full implications. Thorne continued, his voice rising with intensity, the air around him crackling with his resolve. "You've seen a glimpse of our power. You think our technology is primitive because we don't rely on the same tools you do. But you've never pushed us to the brink. You've never forced us to fight for our survival with no other option but total victory or extinction." Thorne's eyes gleamed with a fierce fire, a look no alien could comprehend. "You're about to find out what happens when humanity is pushed to that edge. You want war? We'll give you war. And when we're done, there won't be enough of your species left to fill a single escape pod." The ambassador's composure slipped, a flicker of fear evident in its alien eyes. "This is your final warning, human. Surrender or be destroyed." Thorne tilted his head, as if considering the offer for the first time. Then, with a suddenness that startled even his crew, he slammed his fist down on the holographic projector, shattering the image of the Kotar fleet. "Go ahead. Make your move. And when you do, you'll see just how wrong you are." The connection severed, and the view screen went dark. Thorne turned back to his crew, who were now watching him with a mix of anticipation and awe. He was a man who had just promised the impossible: to take on an entire alien armada with a single fleet and emerge victorious. "Prepare the ship," Thorne ordered, his voice calm but laden with authority. "We're taking the fight to them." Captain Ryder, Thorne's second-in-command, a rugged man with more combat scars than most soldiers had years of service, stepped forward. "Orders, sir." Thorne didn't hesitate. We're going to show them what it means to fight a human war. Get the hyperdrive spinning up. I want every gun loaded, every fighter prepped, and every soldier ready. We're going straight into the heart of their fleet." Ryder nodded, a fierce grin spreading across his face. "Aye, sir, we'll be ready." As the crew began their preparations, the lights on the bridge dimmed slightly, signaling the ship's transition to combat mode. The men moved with purpose, their faces etched with determination. They knew the odds were against them, but they also knew something else. Admiral Thorn had never lost a fight in his life. The hum of the hyperdrive grew louder, a deep, resonant thrum that reverberated through the ship. Thorn felt it in his bones, the power, the potential, the promise of violence to come. He took his seat again, fingers drumming on the armrest as he surveyed the scene before him. This was what he lived for, not the politics, not the negotiations, but the raw, unadulterated chaos of battle. "Let's remind these aliens why they should fear us," Thorn said, his voice low, but filled with a lethal resolve. "We're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for the right to exist. And we're going to make damn sure they never forget it." The Vindication shuddered as the hyperdrive engaged, the stars outside the viewport stretching into long, thin lines of light as the ship accelerated to faster-than-light speeds. In seconds, they would be at the edge of the Kotar Armada, and the war that had been brewing for years would finally begin in earnest. Thorn leaned forward, his eyes locked on the view screen as the countdown to reversion ticked down. The Qatar thought they knew humanity. They thought they could scare them into submission. But they were about to learn the hardest lesson of all. Humans didn't just survive, they thrived in the face of adversity. And when pushed to the brink, they were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. "Brace yourselves, gentlemen," Thorn said, a deadly calm settling over him. "This is going to be one hell of a fight." As the ship dropped out of hyperspace, the Qatar fleet appeared on the screen, a massive wall of ships stretching across the void. Thorn's smile never wavered as he gave the order. "All batteries, fire at will." The first barrage erupted from the Vindication's guns, streaking across the blackness of space toward the enemy fleet. It was not just a declaration of war, but a statement, a promise that the Qatar had made the worst mistake of their existence by underestimating humanity. Now, they would pay the price. The silence on the bridge of the UES Vindication was momentarily shattered by the roar of its guns, as the ship's weapon systems unleashed a torrent of energy blasts and missile barrages. The vast expanse of space erupted into chaos. The Qatar fleet, caught off guard by the sudden assault, scrambled to respond. Admiral Thorn's eyes remained fixed on the view screen, his expression calm but intent. The sight of enemy ships exploding in brilliant bursts of light was both a satisfying and sobering experience. The Qatar Dominion had underestimated humanity's resolve, and Thorn was determined to make them regret it. "Captain Ryder," Thorn said, his voice steady, "what's the status on our fighters?" Captain Ryder, a seasoned veteran with a reputation for unwavering loyalty, checked his console. "Squadron Alpha is engaged with enemy interceptors. They're holding their own, but we're taking some hits. Squadron Bravo is launching now and should be in position within minutes." "Good," Thorn replied. "Tell them to focus on protecting our flanks. We don't want any surprises." The crew moved with practiced efficiency, executing their duties with a precision born of countless hours of training. The Vindication's formidable weapons continued their relentless assault, carving through the Qatar fleet's formation. Despite their numbers, the Qatar ships were struggling to adapt to the ferocity of the human counterattack. On the other side of the battle, the Qatar ambassador watched in dismay as their fleet began to falter. The initial shock of the human assault had given way to a growing realization that this was no ordinary skirmish. The humans were fighting with a fierce tenacity that defied all expectations. "What is happening?" the ambassador demanded, turning to a subordinate. "Why aren't we annihilating them as expected?" The subordinate, a wiry alien with quick reflexes, scanned the data streaming in from the battlefield. "The human ships are more resilient than our sensors indicated. Their tactics are unconventional. They're not engaging us head-on in the way we anticipated. The ambassador's frustration was palpable. Deploy the reserve fleet. We need to crush this resistance quickly. We cannot afford to waste time. Back on the Vindication, Thorn's tactical acumen was in full display. He watched as the Kotar ships attempted to regroup and launch counterattacks. His mind worked rapidly, analyzing the patterns of the enemy's movements and adapting his strategy accordingly. "Helm, bring us around to a flanking position," Thorn ordered. "We need to hit them where they're weakest." The Vindication's engines roared as the ship shifted its trajectory, maneuvering through the debris-strewn battlefield. The Kotar fleet, still reeling from the initial assault, struggled to adjust to the new threat. The Vindication's guns continued to fire, carving a path of destruction through the enemy ranks. In the midst of the chaos, Lieutenant Sarah Collins, the Vindication's chief tactical officer, relayed critical information to Thorn. "Admiral, we've got an opportunity here. The Kotar reserves are moving to intercept our fighters, creating a gap in their main formation." "Excellent," Thorn replied. "Prepare a strike team. We're going to exploit that gap and hit their command ship. If we can take out their leadership, we might turn the tide of this battle." Collins nodded, her fingers flying over the controls as she coordinated the deployment of the Vindication's strike team. The elite group of fighters and bombers prepared for their high-risk mission, their engines flaring as they launched from the ship's bays. As the strike team approached the Kotar command ship, the tension was palpable. The ship, a massive and heavily fortified vessel, loomed in the distance. Its sheer size and firepower made it a formidable target, but Thorn's plan was to hit it quickly and decisively. "Strike team, engage the command ship," Collins instructed over the comms. "Target their bridge and communication arrays first. We need to disable their ability to coordinate their forces." The strike team surged forward, their weapons blazing as they unleashed a coordinated assault on the command ship. Explosions rocked the alien vessel as the precision strikes disabled its bridge and communication systems. The Kotar command ship, once a symbol of the Dominion's power, was now a crumbling wreck in the void of space. With their command ship disabled, the Kotar fleet's coordination fell into disarray. The Vindication's continued assault took full advantage of the confusion, further breaking apart the enemy formation. The tide of battle was beginning to turn in humanity's favor, though Thorn knew that this was only the beginning. On the bridge of the Vindication, Thorn watched the unfolding battle with a grim satisfaction. The Kotar had underestimated human resolve, and their initial advantage was slipping away. But the battle was far from over, and the enemy's reserves were still a significant threat. "Keep the pressure on them," Thorn ordered. "We need to drive them back and secure a decisive victory." The Vindication's guns roared once more, delivering a relentless barrage of firepower. The battle continued to rage, each side pushing against the other in a high-stakes clash that would determine the fate of Earth. As the hours passed, the once proud Kotar fleet was reduced to a shadow of its former self. The Vindication's assault had taken a heavy toll, but the resolve of Admiral Thorn and his crew remained unshaken. They were fighting not just for their survival, but for the very essence of humanity. "Admiral, we've received a transmission from the Kotar," Collins said, her voice laced with disbelief. "They're asking for a ceasefire." Thorn's expression hardened. "A ceasefire? After all this, they've underestimated us from the start." "We're not accepting any ceasefire until they retreat," Thorn declared. "Tell them that Earth will not negotiate under threat. They will either leave our system or face complete annihilation." The message was sent, and the Kotar ambassador, now facing a dire situation, was left to contemplate the consequences of their overreach. The battle had shifted, and the Kotar Dominion was left to reckon with a truth they had yet to fully comprehend. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The turning tide. The aftermath of the battle left the void of space littered with debris. The Kotar Dominion's fleet had been decimated, and their once proud command ship was a smoldering ruin. The Vindication, though battered, stood as a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. On the bridge, Admiral Thorne and his crew were in the midst of processing their hard-fought victory. "Admiral Thorne, we've received a full report from the damage control teams," Lieutenant Collins announced, her voice steady despite the exhaustion evident on her face. "The ship sustained significant damage but is still operational. We're looking at a few weeks of repairs, but nothing we can't handle." "Good," Thorne replied, rubbing his temples as he tried to shake off the fatigue. "What about the Qatar? Have they responded to our ultimatum?" Collins nodded. "Yes, they've confirmed their withdrawal. Their remaining forces are retreating beyond the edge of our system. It seems they've finally recognized the futility of their situation." Thorne allowed himself a moment of relief. The Qatar Dominion, though powerful, had been forced to acknowledge the strength and determination of humanity. But this victory, while significant, was only a partial triumph. The war was far from over, and Thorne knew that the Dominion's defeat might only be the beginning of a longer struggle. "Prepare for a status briefing with the fleet commanders," Thorne ordered. "We need to reassess our strategy and ensure that we're ready for any potential retaliation." As Thorne's crew prepared for the briefing, the Admiral took a moment to reflect on the events that had transpired. The battle had showcased humanity's capacity for incredible strength and resourcefulness, but it had also highlighted the importance of unity and preparedness. The Qatar had underestimated them, but that was a mistake that would not be repeated. Meanwhile, in the remnants of the Qatar fleet, the Dominion's high command was reeling from the unexpected defeat. The Qatar ambassador, who had been taken aback by the swift and brutal response of the humans, now faced an urgent situation. Have the retreating forces secured the necessary jump points? The ambassador demanded, his frustration barely contained. "We cannot afford any further setbacks." A subordinate, their face tense and pale, replied, "Yes, Ambassador. The remaining forces are withdrawing to a pre-designated safe zone. However, our losses are substantial, and our ability to project power into human space has been severely compromised." The ambassador slammed his fist on the table. "This is unacceptable. We underestimated them, and now we've suffered the consequences. The humans have proven themselves to be a more formidable adversary than anticipated. Shall we initiate a new offensive?" the subordinate suggested hesitantly. "Perhaps a more calculated approach might yield better results." The ambassador considered the suggestion. "No, we need to reassess and regroup. Our forces require reinforcement and reorganization. We'll bide our time and gather intelligence. The humans may have won this round, but the war is far from over." Back on Earth, the victory was being celebrated as a turning point. The public's morale was high, and the news of the Qatar retreat was met with a mixture of relief and renewed determination. The media outlets were abuzz with stories of human bravery and the resilience of the Vindication's crew. In the halls of Earth's command center, Admiral Thorne convened with his senior officers and strategic planners. The room was filled with a sense of urgency as they analyzed the data and formulated their next steps. "All right, Team," Thorne began. "We've achieved a significant victory, but we can't afford to rest on our laurels. The Qatar will regroup and they'll be back. Our task now is to fortify our defenses and prepare for any potential follow-up actions." Colonel Davis, a grizzled veteran of numerous conflicts, spoke up. "Admiral, what about the reports of potential Qatar reinforcements? Should we be concerned about a larger offensive in the near future?" Thorne nodded. "We should be prepared for any possibility. It's crucial that we bolster our defenses and enhance our intelligence capabilities. We need to stay ahead of their movements and ensure that our forces are ready for any scenario." The meeting continued with detailed discussions on strengthening Earth's defenses and enhancing the fleet's readiness. The strategic plans included reinforcing space stations, upgrading planetary defenses, and increasing coordination with allied forces. Meanwhile, on the Vindication, Captain Ryder was busy overseeing the repairs and ensuring that the crew remained focused. The damage sustained during the battle was being repaired with impressive efficiency, but the captain knew that the crew's morale was just as important as the ship's structural integrity. "Captain," Lieutenant Collins approached, "I've received a message from Fleet Command. They're praising our performance and commending the crew's bravery. It's a well-deserved recognition." Ryder smiled, though his eyes remained focused on the tasks at hand. "It's good to hear, but let's not get complacent. We've proven ourselves capable, but the real test lies ahead." As the Vindication's crew worked diligently, Thorne's thoughts were on the broader implications of the battle. The Kotar Dominion had been a formidable opponent, but humanity had demonstrated its capacity to stand firm and fight back. The victory had bolstered Earth's position, but Thorne knew that the future would hold more challenges. The immediate threat had been repelled, but the Kotar Dominion's intentions remained unclear. The war was not over, and the stakes were higher than ever. Thorne and his team were determined to ensure that humanity remained vigilant and prepared for whatever lay ahead. In the quiet moments between battles, Thorne found solace in the resolve of his crew and the spirit of the people he fought to protect. The struggle against the Kotar Dominion was far from finished, but humanity's determination and strength would guide them through the trials to come. Shadows of the unknown. The weeks following the battle saw the Vindication and other Allied ships undergoing extensive repairs and upgrades. Earth's military forces were in a state of heightened readiness, anticipating any move the Kotar Dominion might make. Admiral Thorne and his team worked tirelessly, analyzing every piece of data and preparing for the next phase of the conflict. In the command center, Thorne and his senior officers gathered for a strategy meeting. The atmosphere was tense, with the weight of their recent victory mingling with the anticipation of future challenges. "Admiral, we've received reports from our reconnaissance units," Colonel Davis began, projecting a star map onto the screen. "There's unusual activity near the outer edges of our system. It appears the Kotar Dominion is regrouping, but there's something else. Unidentified vessels have been spotted in the vicinity." Thorne's brow furrowed. Unidentified vessels. Are they allied with the Kotar, or is this something entirely new? Davis shook his head. "We're not sure yet. The vessels are unlike anything we've encountered before. They're cloaked and moving in ways that defy our current tracking capabilities. We've sent out probes to gather more information." The screen displayed an image of the unidentified vessels, sleek, dark, and enigmatic. Thorne studied the image, a knot of unease forming in his stomach. The presence of unknown ships added a new layer of uncertainty to their already precarious situation. "Keep a close watch on them," Thorne ordered. "I want real-time updates on any changes. We need to determine if these ships are a new threat or if they're simply remnants of the Kotar's forces." As Thorne addressed the emerging threat, Captain Ryder was overseeing the final stages of the Vindication's repairs. The ship's crew worked with focused efficiency, eager to return to their duties. Ryder, however, could not shake the feeling of impending danger. "Captain," Lieutenant Collins approached, her expression serious. "We've received word from the science team. They've detected unusual energy readings from the outer reaches of our system. It could be related to those unidentified vessels." Ryder's eyes narrowed. "What kind of energy readings?" "High-frequency pulses," Collins replied. "They're intermittent but strong. The science team believes it could be a form of communication or a signal of some kind." Ryder nodded. "We need to investigate. Prepare a reconnaissance mission to analyze these energy readings and identify any potential threats." Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the Kotar Dominion's high command was still grappling with the defeat. In their darkened war room, the remaining leaders were engaged in a heated discussion. "Ambassador, the humans' victory was a significant blow," one of the commanders said. "Their defenses are stronger than we anticipated, and their response was swift and decisive." The Kotar ambassador, visibly agitated, responded, "Our initial estimates were flawed. The humans have proven to be a formidable adversary. We need to adapt our strategy and utilize every asset at our disposal. Then what of the unknown vessels we've encountered? Another commander asked. Are they part of our reinforcements? The ambassador's gaze hardened. The vessels are not of our design. They are from an enigmatic and highly secretive faction that we've had limited contact with. They have their own agenda and their own reasons for being here. Are they a threat? The commander pressed. The ambassador's eyes narrowed. They're unpredictable. We must be cautious and use them to our advantage. Their presence complicates matters, but it could also be an opportunity. If we can form an alliance, it may turn the tide in our favor. Back on Earth, Admiral Thorne was deep in thought as he reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The possibility of a new threat loomed large, and the unknown vessel's appearance added a layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. Admiral Thorne, Lieutenant Collins interrupted his thoughts. The reconnaissance mission has returned with preliminary data on the energy readings. The science team has determined that the signals are indeed a form of communication, but their origin remains unclear. Thorne's mind raced as he considered the implications. Prepare a diplomatic envoy to establish contact with any potential allies. We need to understand who or what these unknown vessels represent and whether they pose a threat or an opportunity. As the envoy was being prepared, the Vindication's crew continued their preparations. Captain Ryder and his team were determined to ensure that the ship was ready for any scenario, whether it involved a new enemy or a potential alliance. The reconnaissance mission had revealed that the unknown vessels were indeed a new force in the galaxy. They were highly advanced and exhibited technology that was beyond anything the humans had encountered. Their motives remained unclear, but their presence was a stark reminder of the vast and unpredictable nature of the galaxy. On the diplomatic front, Earth's envoy was dispatched to initiate contact with the unknown vessels. The mission was delicate and fraught with uncertainty, but it was a necessary step in navigating the complex and shifting landscape of interstellar relations. As the envoy made its way toward the coordinates of the unknown vessels, Thorne and his team remained on high alert. The presence of new and mysterious forces in the galaxy was a reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. The victory over the Kotar Dominion had been significant, but the war was far from over. The situation was evolving, and humanity had to be prepared for whatever the future might hold. The unknown vessels represented a new variable in an already intricate equation, and Thorne knew that their next moves would be critical in shaping the outcome of the conflict. In the quiet moments of reflection, Thorne and his crew remained resolute in their commitment to protect Earth and its allies. The galaxy was a place of wonder and danger, and humanity's determination and strength would be their guiding light as they faced the trials to come. Echoes of the Abyss. The diplomatic envoy, led by Ambassador Elara Harris, approached the coordinates of the unknown vessels with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. The envoy's ship, Diplomat's Grace, was equipped with the latest in communication technology and defensive measures, but its crew remained vigilant. The unknown vessels had already proven their advanced capabilities, and the potential for miscommunication or aggression was high. Ambassador Harris stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the view screen as the unknown vessels came into view. They were even more imposing up close, massive and enigmatic, their hulls reflecting the cold light of distant stars. Despite their intimidating appearance, Harris was determined to establish a dialogue and uncover the nature of this new force. Prepare to initiate first contact protocols, Harris instructed. Open a channel and transmit our peaceful intentions. The communications officer nodded and began transmitting a standard greeting message, emphasizing Earth's desire for peaceful relations and mutual understanding. The envoy waited in tense silence as the message was relayed. On the bridge of one of the unknown vessels, a figure observed the transmission. The vessel's commander, known only as the Warden, was an enigmatic being whose true form was obscured by a shifting cloak of energy. The Warden's voice, resonant and alien, spoke to their crew. The humans have initiated contact. Their message indicates a desire for peace, but their presence here is intriguing. Prepare to respond, but remain cautious. We must understand their intentions before revealing our own. The Warden's vessel responded with a signal of its own, a complex, rhythmic series of pulses that conveyed a form of acknowledgement. It was an intricate dance of light and sound, unlike any form of communication previously encountered by humanity. Back on Diplomat's Grace, Ambassador Harris watched the response with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The message was clearly designed to communicate, but its alien nature posed a challenge for deciphering. The message appears to be an acknowledgement, the communications officer reported. However, its meaning remains unclear. We'll need to analyze it further. As the envoy ship and the unknown vessels maintained their careful distance, Earth's science team worked to decode the alien signal. They employed advanced algorithms and pattern recognition tools, seeking to find a common ground in the unfamiliar communication. Meanwhile, Admiral Thorne and his team received updates from the envoy. The presence of the unknown vessels was both a potential threat and a unique opportunity. Thorne knew that understanding these new players in the galaxy was crucial for the future of humanity. "I want regular updates on the progress of the decoding efforts," Thorne instructed. "If we can establish meaningful communication, we need to be prepared for any possible scenarios." The decoding process was slow and complex. The alien signal defied conventional analysis, its structure both elegant and bewildering. It took hours of tireless effort before the science team made a breakthrough, a partial translation of the message. The initial analysis suggests that the signal is a form of negotiation, Dr. Lee reported. It appears to offer terms for a potential alliance or cooperation, but the exact nature of those terms is still unclear. Harris, now more confident in their approach, prepared to respond with a carefully crafted message. She wanted to convey Earth's willingness to engage in dialogue while also asserting their position as a formidable force if necessary. "Send a response confirming our readiness to negotiate," Harris instructed. "We need to express our interest in understanding their intentions while ensuring that we're not compromising our security." The message was sent, and the envoy awaited a reply. The atmosphere aboard Diplomat's Grace was charged with anticipation. The unknown vessels remained silent, their intentions shrouded in mystery. As the hours passed, the crew of Diplomat's Grace continued to monitor the unknown vessels, their sensors scanning for any signs of movement or change. The tension was palpable, and every crew member was acutely aware of the stakes involved. Back at Earth's command center, Admiral Thorne and his team analyzed the situation from a strategic perspective. The appearance of the unknown vessels added a new layer of complexity to their efforts, and the possibility of forming an alliance or facing a new adversary was a significant concern. "The unknown vessels are a wild card," Thorne said to his officers. "We must be prepared for any outcome, whether it leads to a new alliance or further conflict." As the days wore on, the diplomatic efforts continued. Ambassador Harris and her team remained in constant communication with the unknown vessels, working to bridge the gap between their vastly different cultures and technologies. The enigmatic Warden and their crew were equally determined to understand the humans. Their own leaders were watching the interaction closely, weighing the potential benefits and risks of engaging with this new species. In the midst of these developments, a new threat emerged from the shadows. A series of covert attacks on remote outposts and supply lines suggested that the Kotar Dominion was regrouping and striking where the humans were least prepared. Reports of these attacks reached Admiral Thorne, heightening the urgency of their situation. The Kotar Dominion's tactics were becoming increasingly aggressive, and their ability to strike at critical infrastructure revealed a dangerous level of resilience. "Admiral, we're seeing a pattern in the attacks," Colonel Davis reported. "The Kotar Dominion appears to be targeting our supply lines and logistical hubs. It's a strategy designed to weaken our operational capacity." Thorne's expression grew grim. "We need to strengthen our defenses and ensure that our supply lines are secure. At the same time, we must remain vigilant regarding the unknown vessels. Their role in this situation is still uncertain, and we cannot afford to let our guard down. As Earth's forces prepared to counter the Kotar Dominion's renewed aggression, the diplomatic efforts with the unknown vessels continued. The possibility of an alliance or further conflict loomed large, and every decision made in the coming days would shape the future of humanity and its place in the galaxy. The galaxy was a vast and unpredictable realm, filled with both allies and adversaries. In the midst of this turmoil, the strength and determination of humanity would be tested as never before.